And the link to the recording will also be sent out to you tomorrow so that you can refer back to it if you need to, okay? And one other thing that I usually invite people, if there are any topics that you're really interested in, you can always, get in touch with us and maybe we can have a session on that topic. Because most of the sessions we have, with the exception of this one, okay, because this is a little different, but most of the sessions we have uh, are drawn from topics that seniors or service providers give us. Okay, so that would be great. I want to take a moment now, if you don't mind, to acknowledge the land that we live on. We respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, whose culture has now been erased forever. We also acknowledge the island of Uktahumguk as the unceded traditional territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq. And we acknowledge Labrador as the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Innu of Nitassinan, the Inuit of Nunatsiavut, and the Inuit of Nunatukavut. We recognize all First Peoples who were here before us, those who live with us now, and the 7 generations to come. As First Peoples have done since time immemorial, we strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the cultures, ceremonies, and traditions of all who call it home. As we open our hearts and minds to the past, we commit ourselves to working in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all. Just before you will recall that when you registered, we asked a couple of questions, and I'd just like to go through that with you, all right? We asked you to let us know 2 things. The first question we asked was, do you know what advanced care planning is? There were 54 people who responded to that. 41 said that they did know what advanced care planning is. 3 did not know, and 10 weren't sure. Okay, so I think the important number to remember is 41 people do know what advanced care planning is. Question 2 said, do you have an advanced care plan in place? And of the 54 respondents to this question, 12 reported that they do have an advanced care plan, and 42 reported that they do not. So although 41 know what it is, 42 do not have one, okay? So that's pretty significant. And those responses are of no surprise to Kelly and I know Kelly is going to mention that later on in the presentation, okay? But what we do know is that having an advanced care plan in place is extremely important so that others know how you want to be treated should the time come when you are unable to communicate your wants and needs yourself. So today we're going to look at starting the advanced care planning conversation. All right, that's a really important component because you need people to understand what you want later on, should you not be able to communicate your own wishes. And you certainly want people, your loved ones, to know, so that everyone is more comfortable with any decisions that you've made. We're going to talk about starting the conversation, the care planning conversations, and the what, why, who, when, and how of advanced care planning. And we will give you some information about resources. And as I mentioned earlier, we will send out some to you tomorrow. We're also going to send you the link to this recording. We're recording it to YouTube, and we'll send you the link so that you can go back and refer to it if you need to, okay? And one thing to keep in mind is that we are not going to be writing an actual advance plan today, okay? We won't be writing it, we're talking about it. We're going to be leading up to writing it. Based on feedback from this same session that we held on April 20th, this is the second session on the same topic. but we're going to be adding a session at some time in the future, maybe a month or so down the road. And what we're going to do during that session is actually write an advanced healthcare directive, okay? So everybody who wants to come back and actually try your hand at drafting your advanced care plan, that would be fabulous. We're planning on inviting all the participants from today and the participants from the session we held on April 20th. Okay, those people, we will be inviting you to come in and do the actual writing online, of course. The reason we're not holding this session for another month is because anyone who registers, we're going to be asking them for their mailing address, and we're going to send to them a document. I know we have it on the slide somewhere, and we'll point it out when we come to it. But we're going to send you a document that was developed by the Coalition of Persons with Disabilities, Newfoundland and Labrador. And it talks about what a healthcare, advanced healthcare directive, which is how the advanced care plan is referred to in this province, okay? And so that document that the coalition developed will have a draft form in it, and it will take step by step through how to do it. And we'd like you to have that document before we do the session so that you can use it while we're going through it, you know, the different steps and actually writing something down. That's it for that. Now, our objectives today, we're going to engage you in thinking and talking about advanced care planning. I think that's the next slide, Kelly. Going to help you to plan how to start conversations with people who matter most to you. It's really important, you know, and I'm sure you realize that, but it's very important that the people that are close to you, your loved ones, know what your wishes are should something happen and you can't express them yourself. And we're also going to help you to start thinking about choosing a substitute decision maker. And that's going to be explained as well, what a substitute decision maker is. And we're going to talk about that and the importance of having one, and the importance of really choosing well who you want to represent you should the time come.
So what is an advanced care plan? Well, it's a lifelong process of thinking about what matters to you, your values and your goals and preferences, and the care you would like to receive at any stage or age of your adult life. And it is also about talking to the people who matter most to you and your healthcare professionals about your wishes. So the key elements really is about having a decision maker who will speak for you about what you want and enabling them through having a directive that will allow them to do that. So of course, advanced care planning is part of life planning. As you know, we plan for our finances and our estates. We plan to buy a home. We plan to get married. We plan to go on a vacation. We do a lot of planning. But it seems like planning for our health care seems to be either way on the back burner or nowhere near us. We never think about it. But it is something that I guess is something that really should be put forward to as part of planning, which helps you take care of your wishes. So some facts and figures on advanced care planning. And as you can see, 93% of Canadians believe it's important to discuss their wishes for their care with their families and friends, okay? Yet only 17% have an advanced care plan. So it's about that gap between, they see it as important, but actually having a plan in place is something that is not really thought about. Oftentimes it's very informal. And we'll get into that discussion on how informal plans are not necessarily the best plans. And according to here, local data, our organization, when we do outreach, we do numerous surveys on topics and issues that impact seniors. And one of them is we do ask about legal planning documents and to see the uptake and how many actually have it. And here in our province, according to our survey, only 13.85% of older adults actually have an advanced healthcare directive or an advanced care plan. So that's very, very low uptake. And keep in mind that our survey was for older adults, and the vast majority of those that took those survey was between the age of 70 and 79.
Why is advanced care planning important? Life can change at any moment. I mean, we all know that. Look at what happened with COVID. All of a sudden, you know, it was on us and no one was prepared for it. It's really important that the people who mean the most to us know what we want. Advanced care planning can help your family and your friends and your healthcare workers. It can help them all to work better together to provide the kind of care they know you want because you told them beforehand. The more people know about your values, your goals, and your wishes, the more they can help you get the care you want. And the earlier people have conversations about their wishes, the less anxious they are if they do experience a health crisis. I mean, imagine, you know, someone probably having a stroke or major heart attack, and their family don't know what to do. You know, what would my father or my mother want if they knew that this was going to happen to them? And an advanced care plan might be even more important, more urgent for people who think that their family may have different views or beliefs than their own. You know, I mean, you might believe in one thing and your son or daughter or spouse don't want to have anything to do with that. They believe in something else. So it's really important that everybody knows what you want should the time come when you can't make the decision yourself or you can't communicate the decision. People who have been diagnosed with a chronic condition that could affect their ability to communicate. I mean, that's really important. Naturally, you know, you have to explain to your family what you would want should that time come when you can't communicate. And when is the right time to do an advanced care plan? Some people use key milestones in life to talk about advanced care planning. I think the earlier people start, you know, really talking about advanced care planning and giving some real consideration to what they would want to happen to them should they become incapacitated and unable to communicate. Some people do set aside a time every year, and for others, they may not do it until they do face a health problem. You know, like people who develop cancer or something like that might motivate them to say, "Oh my gosh, you know, maybe I should start making a plan, making a healthcare plan, and letting people know what I want." And some examples of the milestones or health events: getting married. You know, that's a good, you know, you might want your new spouse to be your substitute decision maker, but getting married is certainly a time to share your wishes with your loved one, with your spouse. Buying a house, having children, um, changes in personal relationships, changes in living situations, retiring, increasing age, and definitely a change in health status. All of those are times to take a good look at a healthcare plan.
So how do you do an advanced healthcare plan? So it's not a one-time event. As Mary said, it's probably best that if you do set one up, that you revisit it every year to ensure that it is up to date, that the individual that you have selected is still available, those kinds of things, and that your life circumstances, if anything has changed, that you can shift it. So it is an ongoing process of thinking, talking, planning, and reviewing your plan. And today we're going to look at the 5 steps that you can take in order to start thinking about how to put together an advanced care plan. As we said earlier, it is not something that you can just grab off the shelf, write a few things down, tuck it away, give it to somebody and say, oh, that's perfect, I'm ready to go. It really is something for you to think thoughtfully and carefully, to involve and engage the people around you that you trust and love and that are a part of your life, in order for it to be the best plan for you and that everyone understands it. So we'll be going through the 5 steps. And as you can see in front of you, we're going to go through each and every one of them. So we're going to think about your values, wishes, and beliefs, and your understanding and care and treatment. And right now you could be saying, oh, well, I'm not ill, but an advanced care planning is much more than that. You want to learn about the different medical procedures and what they can and can't do. Some people do off the cuff stuff saying, oh, well, if I'm unconscious and they got me on life support, unplug me. You want to think carefully on that and understand, is that really what you want, or is that just an off the cuff saying? You want to decide who you want to select, and that's very, very important. I would also urge that if someone were to ask you to be a substitute decision maker, that you too would need to think long about it as well and have a really hearty conversation about that. And because, of course, you want to talk about your wishes. Once you've laid that out, talk about your wishes. And then, of course, then you want to record that. So you would actually copy that down.
We're going to take a look at step 1 now that Kelly referred to, thinking about what you want, okay? Thinking about your values and your wishes. Like, what is it about life to you that makes it worth living? You know, what does the quality of life and comfort mean to you? What are you willing to go through for the possibility of more time? You know, how many treatments would you be willing to take, or what kind of treatments? Would you want to be put on life support for an extended period of time? All of these things are what you need to think about when you're looking at advanced care planning. And if you were in palliative care and you knew you were going to die, what exactly would you want that experience to be like when the time comes? All of these things can be in your control, even if you can't talk about them yourself, or you're incapacitated in some way that you can't communicate. All of those things are important to you. And all of those things can be carried out if you have an advanced care plan and the right people who are going to speak properly on your behalf, should the need arise. And step 2 is learn. Learn to make informed decisions. Talk to your healthcare professional about your health. Your healthcare professional, if you're fortunate enough to have a family doctor, your healthcare professional has your file and should be able to, and knows what you've gone through in the past. And they should be able to guide you on potential conditions that you may have in the future, and discuss different treatments that could be tried and what kinds of interventions they could make. You know, find out about side effects of different treatments or medications that they might put you on, and whether or not you would have to be hospitalized. How long potentially would you have to stay there? There's no right answer to any of these questions. These are all questions that you need to think about yourself. You need to learn about them from your medical professional and make decisions based on what you're told, okay? And what seems good and right to you. What the things you value yourself. Okay, Kelly?
So step 3 is deciding. So when you need health care, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want the treatment and then either give or refuse consent. So when you understand and appreciate your situation and you're able to communicate, well, then that's fine. But when you are unable to communicate, that's when your substitute decision maker comes in. So that's where you need someone that will speak about your wishes, that it's not about them, it's about you, and that you trust that individual to be able to make those decisions and have conversations with the healthcare professionals at that time. So that person that you select will be your substitute decision maker. So when choosing a substitute decision maker, ask yourself, who knows you and what gives you your life meaning, joy, and purpose? Who do you trust to respect your wishes and make decisions you would make for yourself? Who are you comfortable talking to about sensitive and difficult issues? Sometimes people, if you bring it up, I know some people will say, and we've had experience with this, Mary and I, when we presented on this, is people say, oh, my family stops me. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. That's talking about dying and that's talking about death. So they dismiss it. And so it's important, and we'll talk about that later on how to kind of get that conversation going. So who would be able and willing to make difficult decisions on your behalf? And who could honor your wishes, even if those wishes are different from their own? So sometimes someone might not feel that, I don't think I'd be able to let you go. I don't think I'd be able to give the okay. But again, it's about having that conversation and saying, well, you are my voice. And if you really feel that that is a conflict of interest, if you want to put it that way, then perhaps you need to look for someone else. Don't force anyone to do it. You want them to be very, very comfortable. This is a very important decision for them to make and for you to make. And they could very well make some very difficult healthcare decisions. So you want someone very, very comfortable with that. So when, again, you're trying to choose someone who is a capable adult, will honor your wishes, even if they are different from their own. As we said, it is their legal role. So once you've assigned them, they are in the eyes of the healthcare system, they are your legal voice. They're able to handle conflict or disagreement. Example, family members may not agree with your decision or your substitute decision maker, and does not agree with the options provided by your healthcare professional. But this particular piece is important in terms of, again, having the conversations. Do not leave your family out if you're not picking somebody in your family. It's important that everybody is on the same page with regards to what your wishes are. You want to be able for them to accept this person as your substitute decision maker, and that it will certainly give you peace of mind. So there is no disagreements happening in the hospital corridor, everybody gathered around yelling and screaming or are crying about a decision that was made that no one really likes. And of course, this person needs to be accessible and able to commit the time that might be required, because you may very well be unable to speak for yourself for quite some time, and therefore that individual may be required to stay on as that role for an extended period of time. It could be very short-lived, or it could be a very long duration.
talking is also very, very important. It's probably the most important part of the whole process. And, you need to really think about the people who matter the most to you and how well they know you. I think all of us have, some little secrets we're keeping in our lives over the years. And, like our thoughts on medical treatment and our future health, uh, that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, right? So we have to, it's really important that the people who matter the most to us, know what we wish, know what we value, know what we want, know what's important to us, because our wishes might change over time. The conversation, the talking is ongoing, all right? Not every minute of every day, but it certainly needs to be a continuing interaction because we all change. People do change. We might hear some oh, news story or something, or some medical breakthrough will happen, and we need to look at those. We need to consider things like that, and they may very well change some of our own thoughts. Some of our own plans. What we had wanted to happen now no longer counts because there's a cure for this, or so it's really, really important that we have that continuous conversation with our loved ones, with the people who really matter, particularly to people that you are considering having as a substitute decision maker. The substitute decision makers, family, friends, and others, everyone in your close circle, even mature adolescents. Our younger people, they are more perceptive than we often give them credit for. And they need to know. They should know what mom or dad would want, especially later on. They may very well become your substitute decision makers. And if you don't have a substitute decision maker, they may very well be called on to make decisions anyway. But we're going to talk about that a little later. So everybody in your close circle, even mature adolescents, and definitely your healthcare professionals, because they have a better idea of what might your situation be like down the road, depending on your medical history. So it's really important to talk. Talking to people who matter to you again. What are you going to talk about? You're going to share your thoughts about what is important to you, what your goals are, what you value in life, who's going to speak for you, and how you want that person supported, because that's important too, to have the person that you name or people that you have as your substitute decision makers. It's important that they're supported, that everyone understands the role that these people are going to play in your life, and that other people should not interfere with that role, because those people you select should be, and hopefully are, the people who know you the best and are most willing to make sure that the kind of help you need and want is going to be there for you. Okay. Talk about any concerns you have about your future health. Even if intellectually they're unfounded, like a lot of us, when we face some kind of medical crisis in our own lives, we kind of, nervous about it, and imagine all sorts of horrible things happening. And lots of times nothing horrible does happen, okay? But it is important that you share those thoughts with your loved ones and people close to you. And how to do this? Make sure you pick a time when you're relaxed and everybody is relaxed, and have the time to talk about it. Don't try to grab 15 minutes, or let's have coffee for an hour. I'll tell you what I want later on, should I not be able to make my own health care decision. Pick a time when people have the time and people are in that kind of a receptive mood and able to have that kind of conversation, because sometimes it's really difficult conversation to have. you know, and there'll probably be lots of arguments from family members who care for you, or, you know, it can be difficult. So really need to carry on talking.
So you've mentioned conversation numerous times, and one of the things that might be the hardest thing is, well, again, how do you start that? How do you try to actually normalize a conversation about something that may happen to you that your family members don't want to talk about, saying, oh, that's not going to happen for a long time. But it is about beginning the conversation and then normalizing that conversation so that you all don't feel very awkward talking about something that can happen to you at any time. So some of these that seem to be maybe of use that you might find can be helpful is you say, I need your help with something. Or even now you can say, I was at a workshop like the one today, and I'd like to share what I learned with you about this advanced care plan. Or I was thinking about what happened too, and perhaps we do have an experience of someone who may very well have had a health issue or something, and that made you realize that maybe I need to start thinking about me and about what's important to me and what I want should something like that happen to me. Or you can say, right now I'm healthy, but I want to think ahead and be prepared if something unexpected should happen. Okay, you may end up having numerous conversations. You may end up starting and stopping, because it's something that people might not be receptive to get into it, but you know, you would gradually get there. Of course, you want to talk to your healthcare professionals. And I know what some of you might be thinking about is, well, I go to my doctor and he'll only give me 2 minutes, or I can only talk about one issue. But if you build a good relationship with your healthcare professional and you tell them, listen, this is really important to me. I would really like to try to put this in place and get their opinion on it and get their ideas on it. Because you're, like it says here, you're more likely to get the kind of care you want when your healthcare professionals are aware of your wishes. So some of you may have doctors, family doctors that you've had for a very, very, very long time. And they may or may not know exactly what your wishes are. They may know you, but they may not know you. So you could say, I would just like to be able to have a quick conversation about that. And you can prepare yourself. You can write a few things down. You can bring a sheet of paper. You don't have to sit there and go, I can't remember what I was going to ask you. So go prepared. And you may have to go and see your doctor a couple of times before things get laid out for you, because your wishes may change over time again, and you want to be sure the care you receive is right for you. So obviously, what would you talk about? Well, that depends on where you are in life and what is happening to your health. So if you've been diagnosed with diabetes, or you have gout, or you have a history of cancer in your family, or anything like that, then you can begin that conversation saying, well, it runs in my family, or now that I've got a new diagnosis, let's talk about treatment. Let's talk about effects, how that may affect my future health. All of those different things are really, really important. That way, again, like your family, your healthcare professional is on the same page. So of course, what do you want to tell your healthcare professional? Again, get a piece of paper. You can certainly write it down if you feel that you kind of get tongue-tied. Is obviously your wishes for your current care and who your substitute decision maker is. So if you have that already decided, you can let them know. And that way, and then you can ask them, I will give you a copy of that. That way you will have that. And then any specific wishes related to your specific health status and quality of life. Again, it's a continuous conversation that may change over time and that may change as a result of your healthcare status.
One thing I want to point out now is that, to make an advanced healthcare directive, which we call it in Newfoundland, Labrador, you don't need a lawyer, okay? You can, there's legislation in place, there's format in place, how to do it, how to make sure it's legal by having it witnessed, but you don't need a lawyer to do it. Now, we do, certainly can't help to have a lawyer look it over for you. And if you want to make sure that you've got your T's crossed and your I's dotted. And actually, there are some lawyers, if I'm not mistaken, who have offer special rates for a package, like if you wanted to make a will, wanted to designate power of attorney to someone, and do your advanced healthcare directive. Some of the lawyers have a special rate for a package like that, okay? And you can find out more about that from one of our partners, the Public Legal Information Association of Newfoundland and Labrador. And we're going to send you some of their documents or links to some of their documents tomorrow as well. When it comes to recording, there's no legal requirement to write down or record your wishes. But if you're like anybody who's like me, it has to be written down because I will forget my own wishes. I know that. I just keep forgetting things. So it is really a good policy to either record or write down what your wishes are, okay? It can really help. It's and you could give copies to the people who really need copies. It'll help you remember what you thought and what you were talking about. Your substitute decision maker will help them remember the details of the discussion. It also provides insight into your wishes if there's disagreement about your care, because a lot of times there are disagreements about a loved one's care, okay? There are advanced healthcare directive forms in place. And for those of you who want to attend the next session on writing the actual advanced healthcare directive, we're going to be sending you the documents once we get your mailing addresses, so that, that document, there are several, but we find that document is probably the easiest to understand. It's very simple. There's nothing complicated about it. But there are, like I said, there are others available. It's important to review your advanced care plan regularly. I mentioned that earlier. Your understanding of your health and treatment options can change over time. Any kind of medical breakthroughs, as I mentioned, or new medications, or new processes of treatment. Things keep happening, and we need to be abreast of them if we're going to, in case we need to change our healthcare plan. Our values and goals might change. Like things we believed when we were younger may not play a role in our makeup at all anymore. That's time can bring change. Your life or your health or any of your circumstances might change, and that's also a good time. And we talked about that earlier, the list of times when you should review your healthcare plan, because it is a good idea to review it regularly. If you get married, moving, retiring, if you do become ill or acquire some kind of a health, sorry about that. my light went out. I got to keep moving. And how do you review your advanced care plan? The same way we do the process we just went through. You look about, you think about it, you learn about it, you decide who your substitute decision makers are going to be, and decide what you want yourself. That's a big part of the decision. What do I want if this happens to me? And talk about it again and record it. You might want to change that written document, okay? And so those are things to keep in mind. It's really important to review your advanced care plan on a regular basis. And if anything changes, make sure your substitute decision maker and the people close to you know it. And also give copies of that document, that written document, to the people who need it, the substitute decision makers, family members who will probably want to have a say in what happens to you, and your health professional.
Mhm. So what happens if you don't have an advanced care plan? Well, you're not going to be set afloat and people will make, willy-nilly decisions on your behalf. There is an Advanced Healthcare Directives Act that in the event that you do not have an advanced care plan, this kicks in. You may or may not, once we go through it, you may decide, okay, well, I'll just leave it up to this act for someone to decide. However, again, I think you still need the conversations, because some of these people that will be assigned your decision maker may not know what you really and truly want. So this act allows individuals to set out instructions or general principles about personal and healthcare decisions. It allows individuals to appoint a substitute decision maker 19 years of age or older. It provides a hierarchy, and this is the important thing, and we'll go through this, of statutory substitute decision makers in the event that there's no directive and the person lacks capacity or is unable to communicate their wishes and a guardian has not been appointed by a court. So, like Mary said, who can make an advanced care directive? So part of that act does recognize your plan, and should you need to have that plan actually followed, then the Directives Act will honor that, because it is a legal document. You can assign anybody over the age of 16 years of age can actually put in place an advanced healthcare directive if they are mentally capable of understanding and appreciating the information that they write and the consequence of their choices. So a lot of people tend to think that an advanced healthcare directive really is for people who are older, people who have illnesses. Really, we're trying to change the conversation that it's about anyone. Once you are of legal age, you really should be thinking about these kinds of things. Add it in your list of, I plan to get married, I plan to have a job, I plan to go on vacation, I plan to put in legal documents in place in order to protect my healthcare wishes and my finances. So the Directive Act also says a person who's competent to make a healthcare decision may appoint a substitution decision maker who shall be at least 19 years of age. So you can be 16 years of age and have one, but you have to assign someone who's 19 years of age to be a substitute decision maker.
So what happens if you don't have an advanced healthcare plan in place? Okay, you don't have one. You don't have a substitute decision maker in place. One can be appointed, okay? Your medical professional, or heaven forbid, the courts down the road, but can appoint a substitute decision maker for you. Now remember, you did not have one. You have not made an advanced healthcare directive, and there's a person being appointed who is going to make your health decisions based on their knowledge or what they think you want, but not what they know you want, okay? And who would these substitute decision makers be if you have not appointed anyone? According to, and it's listed in the Advanced Healthcare Directives Act itself, okay? So the first person they would go to is the spouse. That can be kind of tricky. One example I like to use in that case, like, so many people say, oh, my husband or my wife will make the decision, or my son or my daughter, but then that's it. They don't have anything down in writing or anything. Supposing God forbid, but supposing your marriage disintegrates and you don't go through the divorce process, you know, that's going to happen down the road, or when someone has money enough to afford a lawyer. And so all of a sudden something happens to you, and the first person they look to make health decisions when you're incapacitated is the spouse whom you probably haven't seen for a year. You know, so that's another reason why we should really have an advanced healthcare directive. They will go to the spouse, they will go to children. Your children may not have the same values. The children, if they're faced with you, the possibility that you might pass away, they may want to do everything under the sun to keep you with them, no matter what the impact could be on you. Then they ask parents, siblings, grandchildren, grandparents, uncles and aunts, nephews and nieces, another relative, a distant cousin down the road, healthcare professional responsible for the proposed healthcare. That would be your doctor. Okay, so those are the order in which substitute decision makers would be selected if you don't have an advanced healthcare directive. So, you know, give some thought. Like, do you want your fourth cousin twice removed to be making your health decisions for you when you haven't seen that fourth cousin twice removed forever?
Yeah, and add to that, what Mary said, if something happens and it's an emergency, and something happens that takes you off guard, and all of a sudden you've been called to the hospital and a doctor says something, it really creates that sense of urgency, or everybody looking at each other saying, well, do you know what mom wants? I don't know what mom wants. It's something that it really creates a lot of stress. And you know, you may be unconscious and you may not know what's going on around you, but because you know now that what could possibly happen, or that you've experienced it yourself. I know I have that, and I'm sure some of you have, if not all of you, that you were in a situation where someone is expecting a decision quick, or so much pieces of information are thrown at you, and you're trying to discuss this with your family, and some people are totally off the mark and others are with you, and it does create that bit of strife that can easily be avoided by actually preparing and planning and having that conversation beforehand. It really eases a lot of the stress and strife for everyone, really.
Another thing in addition to that is I have heard so many people say, children especially, you know, oh, I have dad's power of attorney, I have mom's power of attorney, when they're talking about medical interventions. But power of attorney has nothing to do with your health. It has to do with your property, your finances. That's why people are given power of attorney, not to make health decisions.
Yeah.
But people erroneously think that if they have power of attorney, they can make health decisions for someone else. And I don't know what happens in hospitals or anything, if they're corrected when they say, oh, I have power of attorney and let's do this, you know, but there is a big difference. Sorry
Yes,
for that, Kelly, go ahead.
Yep, no, that's you're absolutely right, and I'm glad that you brought it up, because there is a little bit of a confusion there. So hopefully we have you know, answered that question. More than likely, that's probably on people's minds, right? So as you can see, the benefits of having an advanced care plan, or what we call an advanced healthcare directive here in our province, is that it says here approximately 10% of us will die suddenly. Okay, so the rest of us will have some knowledge that end of life is approaching. Okay, so better, I always say it's better to prepare and prevent than repair and repent. If you have an advanced care plan, you're much more likely to have your end of life wishes known and followed. Okay, because that person is your voice. Again, I cannot state that you know, strong, like that. It's important to remember they are your voice. They should not be putting any of their thoughts or wishes into your healthcare plans. They are your voice should you not be able to speak. Your family members will have less stress and anxiety, as we said, because they know your wishes. And that will make things a lot easier and a lot stressful. It is, as we all know, it is really a very stressful time, and it may still again throw them for a loop if something were to happen, but they are prepared. And you will be more satisfied with your care, as will your family and substitute decision maker. So you yourself will have peace of mind knowing that whoever is going, my decision maker, substitute decision maker, will be speaking for me and will ensure that what I want, I will get. And of course, you will have a better quality of life because you have this plan in place, and death as well, that your wishes will be honored. So we've gone through everything. It may seem like a lot for some of you. Hopefully there are nuggets in there, and there's some steps there that you will find very useful to at least start thinking about what it is that you value and that you would like to be able to articulate on paper and then select somebody. So now's the time, at least this will percolate now in your mind. And hopefully will encourage you to start thinking about it and planning about it and actually putting one in place, and that you'll join us when we invite you to actually tackle the Advanced Care Directive document. You see in front of you a QR code. We do have a survey that the Hospice and the Canadian Palliative Care Association would like you to do. For those of you who are familiar with the QR code, you just got to point your camera on your phone and it'll prompt you to open up a link to the survey. You can certainly do that survey now. I believe Lee is putting the link in the chat box as we speak, if it's not already there. So for some of you who've got the chat box open, not sure, so I'm going to leave that up for a little bit. You can also contact us at any time. We have our email address up there. You can visit our website, which is designed for people to self-serve. Lots of resources and documents. You can even find the Advanced Healthcare Directive actually on our website. You just need to search it. You can obviously give us a call. And for those of you who are on social media, we are on Facebook. We do a lot of posting on our sessions and events that we're having, as well as other partners and other things that are going on in the community. And you can also, if you're on Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter as well. Does anybody have any questions?
A couple of comments here, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
The references, as Kelly and I have been saying, we will be sending them out tomorrow. Mm-hmm. For you. We'll send you the links to the references, okay? Mm-hmm. And we will be asking for your name and address. We are going to send out a copy of the slides. I just noticed that question in chat. Yes, we will be sending the link to the slide, or attaching slides to the email that we send out tomorrow. And we will also be giving you the links to the provincial legislation, and to the Public Legal Information Association, Newfoundland and Labrador. We're going to be sending you a link to one of their documents which talked about advanced healthcare directives as well. And as for the Coalition of Persons with Disabilities booklet, we are going to be mailing you a hard copy of that if you register to come back when we do the advanced healthcare directive actual writing.
Yeah.
Anybody who needs a certificate as part of your job-related professional development or university education, I did allow for that on the registration, but if anybody didn't fill it out and they want a certificate, just drop me an email at Marye, M-A-R-Y-E, @seniorsnl.ca.
Mhm.
Next
As-
Tuesday,
Yeah.
coming up next Tuesday on Let's Talk About, that will be 9:30, and I'll be sending out invitations today. There will be a presentation on home emergency alert systems. Okay, very important.
Yeah.
And I think
I-
that's about it.
Mary, if I can add, please. I want to leave the chat up for a little bit because there are links to things that people were looking for, namely the link to Public Legal Information Association of Newfoundland and Labrador, the Survey Monkey. If you want to click the chat, there's the link to that as well. There's also a link to the Advanced Healthcare Directive Act as well in the chat box. You just click that and that'll bring it up in a separate browser for you. And again, as well as a legal planning guide for Public Legal Information Association, and a link to the Department of Health and Community Services directive as well, because there are 2 directives that are out there. So I want to leave that up for a little bit for people to access. And Mary's email address. You have a question, Ramendra? Yes.
I have a question. First of all, thank you very much for this presentation. It was excellent presentation, very, very good. When in the beginning you mentioned about doing some survey for who has done any ACP. So my wife and myself, we talked about it and we already have it. But having said that, I still like this presentation and we are going to go through that once again. Just to review that and update that and sit down with our family member, children, grandchildren, whosoever. Yeah. And we will look into that one. Having said that, I also have some long time ago, I also got one of these things from your group, it was, I haven't filled it yet, to be honest with you. My wife did, but I haven't. And I'm do that. And I think it is very helpful for everybody to look into that, and that helps that start. After this, I have a couple of questions. I know you're saying you're going to send the recording to everyone, which is good. Can I get a copy of the presentation slides as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And number 2, can I use this presentation to a smaller group of my own?
Yes, you can. Yes,
Yeah.
you can. Yeah.
Thank you.
And if there's anything that you need, by all means, you can connect with Mary or use the info and reach out, and we can, if you want extra copies of the directive, if you want to go through that, by all means, yes, we'd certainly support you.
Excellent.
That's wonderful. That's excellent.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Good
wonderful.
work. Keep it up.
Yes, I'm glad that you, oh, you have a question?
Hi.
Hello.
No, you just want to say hello.
Oh, hello. Yeah, Ramendra, I'm really glad that you showed the file for life, and I've got it written down because it is a little tiny thing that people might not be familiar with, that not every community or in this province has it, but I know that Springdale has it, and out around Carbonear area. It is a file for life that people can put all their medical information. You can even put your advanced care plan or who your substitute decision maker is in this, what we call a file. In Springdale, they call it a vial, which is like a prescription bottle that has all information, and they put it in their fridge. Yeah. So that when the paramedics come, or someone comes to your house, if you're on, like you had a stroke or you fell down and you're unconscious, they can go and find this document, and therefore they could start putting things in place as you go. But I'm really glad that you brought that up, and I'm going to talk to Mary to see if maybe a presentation on that might be something of value to add. So thank you so much for sharing that, Ramendra.
Thank you very much. And my wife, she wanted to say hello because she had her cataract surgery yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, everything went well. Yeah, so she's doing good.
Oh boy.
Wonderful.
Hopefully it'll be a quick recovery.
Yes.
Does anyone,
Lovely. Wish you well. Does anyone else have any questions? again, like Mary said, if you have any questions you prefer to just send to her, by all means, please do.
Yeah.
And hopefully I still encourage you to do the survey. Also want to let you know that at our first presentation, we had a couple of videos which didn't work out very well in the first one. So we did a dry run last week and it still didn't work out. So we took them out, but Mary will be sending you the links to those, and they're really very useful little videos. They're very short, but it kind of encapsulates everything and kind of reviews everything that we did talk about. So look forward to Mary's email because she'll have a lot of stuff in it. And thank you so much, everyone, for participating in this project. And I look forward to seeing you again when we set up to do the actual guide. Mary, do you have anything?
No, I think that that about sums it up. I am so pleased that there's so many people on. Thank
Wonderful.
you very much. And don't forget, if there's any topic you want us to cover at any point in time, let me know and we'll see what we can do. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Enjoy
Bye.
your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye, Alison.
Bye, Alison.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for sending the info.
Take care.